Get started with this breakout session. I know we have an hour and then quickly need to return upstairs for our lunch for our keynote. And I'm very, very excited today. My name is Carrie Rankin. I'm Assistant Director for Development with the Governor's STEM Advisory Council, but I am very, very excited to be able to introduce two of our STEM-best models that are operating across the state of Iowa right now. You've heard a little bit in the previous presentations if you were upstairs. STEM-Best stands for Businesses Engaging Students and Teachers, and really the concept of these models is all about community partnerships and how our educators, our business partners, our community partners and such can all come together to provide more project-based, real-life experiences for our students as they learn. And so we, at this time with the STEM Council, have 18 of these models across the state of Iowa. I would have loved to have been able to bring all of them in here for this conference today, but they only gave us an hour. So we are going to highlight two of them for you today. The first panel, I guess I will say, and they're actually a presentation that they will do, is the Iowa Big North program, followed by Davenport Inspire program, Davenport West Inspire program. And what I'm really excited about being able to offer to you today is that these presentations are being done by the collaboration of the partners. So you'll see a couple of students, and I'll let them introduce themselves and their teams. The educators that they work with and the business partners that they work with. We thought rather than just bringing the educators and the business partners, we wanted the students, the end users of this product, to be able to talk to you about what it means to them and what they're getting out of this experience, so that it hopefully will inspire all of you across the state of Iowa that are thinking about engaging in STEM-based models or looking at them to move forward with it. So, without further ado, I'm going to invite up the Iowa Big North team to start their presentation. Welcome.
Alrighty, so I am Brianna White, and I am an IBN graduate.
And I am Madison Davis, and I'm an Iowa Big North graduate as well.
I'm Matt Finn, and I'm an Iowa Big North instructor.
Josh Burns, partnership, kind of the business side of it with Iowa Big North.
So Iowa Big North is a new program in Northeast Iowa with these 4 schools, and we all partner together to solve real-world problems.
Iowa Big North started after we received a STEM-Best grant in combination with the 4 schools, and we used those resources to R&D, or as Mr. Glue said, rip off and duplicate, rip off and duplicate another model. We went out and we saw 2 really amazing models already working in our state with Waukee Apex and then Iowa Big in Cedar Rapids. And we wanted to find a way to work with our business partners. We've got some amazing partners with great resources in our communities, and find a way to do that in a really authentic way. When we went to those 2 schools, schools is a loose term probably too, because it's not a school in the traditional sense. The thing that we saw that said we had to bring this back, and why we are indeed Iowa Big in Cedar Rapids, was the level of engagement and the vibe, the feel that the students had, and how excited they were to be there, and how excited they were to engage in new people and in strangers. And we thought we want a piece of that, and we want to bring that back to rural Northeast Iowa. So yeah, that's how this all started.
So for Iowa Big North, we have 3 different spaces. We have one in New Hampton, which is on our main street, And then for Charles City, it is in their old middle school. And then for Osage, it's in their municipal space. So this means that we are out of our traditional school. It's a lot better to be out of it because I feel like I've been working a lot better than when I was in school. We get to work with shared businesses. So on our next slide, we do work with Zoetta's in Charles City. So in Charles City, they do have some member from that place. They go there at least once a week to not just tell them how to work, but they work with the students. And then we have one in Osage from Valent. They would go in. But from there, we do hope to, next year, they do hope to add some more business people to come into our space and not tell us how to work, but to work with us on our initiatives.
So for the last year, New Hampton had 13 students, Charles City had 11, and Osage had 7 students involved. And New Hampton had students involved in 10 out of the 16 initiatives. Charles City had 12 out of the 16, and New Hampton had 7 out of the 16.
So there are 3 concepts that Iowa Big North goes out of, and our number 1 is passion. So to be in Iowa Big, you have to know your passion, or you do learn it throughout Iowa Big. And to work for the initiative, you had to be passionate about it. And the one thing that I learned throughout Iowa Big is that I knew that I was passionate about my initiatives because I would be working on them at about 10:30 at night, or texting Mr. Kennan or Madison or Mrs. Forsyth throughout the night, like asking them, is my presentation good enough for the next day? The second one is interdisciplinary. This means that if I was working on one initiative, I was getting multiple credits out of it. So it wasn't just I was getting math out of my one initiative and then the science out of the next one. I was getting multiple out of the one. And then a third big one is working with the community. We actually did work with the community a lot, and then you did get to know them a lot more than what we used to know them.
So a few things to know about Iowa Big. We have never turned any student away, so any student who has scheduled Iowa Big has gotten to have the great opportunity of taking it. You can either take it for 1, 2, or 3 periods a day. 1 period isn't really ideal because you have to travel to your space. That takes 5-10 minutes going there and back. And then you have like 30 minutes to sit down and work, so that's not really ideal, but it does happen. I did it. Junior and seniors only, due to transportation issues, permits, license, all that fun stuff. And there are no prerequisites to Iowa Big. And we learned last year that Big is not for everyone. Some students are grade driven, they want an A, they want a 4.0. They're more worried about that in the grade book than the progress that is made, or like we say, failing forward. They aren't okay with failing. So Big is not for everyone.
One thing about Big is not for everyone. I learned from being in my New Hampton space that there were 2 students that joined, and I believe first semester the one student had more tardies than I think anybody in the high school. So he actually worked a lot better with Iowa Big North. He said that he'd rather be at Iowa Big North than the traditional school setting because he did so much better than the traditional school. And then the other student, he joined second semester and he was in my grade, so I've known him for a while. And I know that school just wasn't his thing at all. But once he joined Iowa Big North, I saw a completely different side to him. He worked very well with the community. He actually opened up a lot more. And he was one that was still working on stuff after school when he didn't really have to. So the introductory, for the presentations to students, towards the end of the year, to get some more people involved with it for next year, we talked to the junior class, the ones that are going to be seniors. We had a presentation for them, and then the sophomores going to be juniors. We had a presentation for them, and we went to their homerooms during like an intervention time, and we talked to them, we answered questions, and even if they were still iffy about it, we would email them, and then they could also talk to the students or the advisors at New Hampton, Charles City, or Osage. And then we had a hackathon later in the year to the students who were still iffy or were for sure that they were going to be in Iowa Big. And a hackathon is, we went to the Charles City space because that was kind of like the middle point for New Hampton and Osage to meet up with them. And that's actually, that picture is in the Charles City space. And you get when you get there, you get a whiteboard and you write down any problem that you have, like it can be with school, with the community, or anything that bothers you. So you'd write down the one thing with a pretty cool title. And then you'd have half of the room take their whiteboards and they'd hold them up, and if anybody on the other half that they like wanted to listen to them, they could go up to anybody and listen to that problem. And if they were interested, later on, you'd get into that group and you'd actually come up with a pitch, and a pitch is like a presentation, and it had to be about 5 minutes long, and you'd have to tell your problem and how you think that you could fix it. The meetings with students or parents, that's like I talked about earlier, is if they were iffy about it, we would have meetings with the students or the parents, like telling the parents what Iowa Big North is. But mainly when we started marketing Iowa Big, I think a lot of Northeast Iowa already knows what Iowa Big North is and how great of an opportunity it is. And then a partner palooza, we did that at the beginning of the year to have the business partners come in and pitch their problem. But the thing is not every problem that was pitched by a business was picked up, because some students probably weren't passionate about what they were talking about. But hopefully those businesses will come back next year and pitch again, because there's going to be a lot more students that could pick that problem up.
So you're probably wondering how we get our credits for this. One of our options is in applied English, and Mr. Finn is the instructor of that. So they have a lit seminar every week where they go over, every other week, where they go over common things for English that you need to know. And then we have an applied science, which nobody actually took that this year, because we have the STEM Innovator, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then we have the universal constructs, which is what we were doing every single day with 21st century employability skills. So the STEM Innovator was an opportunity for us, and you can get 3 credits from the University of Iowa. So some of the tasks we had to do is we had to evaluate our team members, evaluate ourselves, what are our weaknesses and strengths, where can our team grow, how do we bring new people into our team with different strengths than what we already had. We had to pick one initiative to do this whole project on, and then we had to pitch 3 times, and our last one was actually recorded just to see your progress. Talk about like our community partners, what are some things that worked, didn't work. And then we had to actually do a canvas where we talked about our partnerships, resources, all of that. And then we actually had a test in May. And so 71% they had passing for all US students, and we actually had 76% passing for IBN students, and that's pretty great since it was our first year of doing this.
So like I was talking about initiatives earlier, we have 2 types. The inbound is where the members come, like the community members come and pitch to us their problem. So you can pick up any of those. And then the outbound is the ones that the students come up with. Anything that bugs us really that we can pitch about to the other members of Iowa Big North. So then, thanks. So you can see on the left-hand side is our outbound. Those are the ones that the students came up with, and then the one on the right is the inbound, and that's what the community members that came to pitch to us, those are the ones that are active right now. So one that I'm on is the outbound, and that's teen to teen, and I started a mentoring program in New Hampton that is with the 8th graders. I started with the 8th graders since it's new, and then I knew that when I went into high school, I never knew much about high school or like what to be involved in or anything like that. So my other members and I on my team, we came up with a list of things on Google Docs, and we had probably about 3 pages long of stuff that either bugged us or we didn't know about high school, and then we kind of brought it together and put it into 5 different categories. So we went to them about 7 different times to talk to them, kind of tell them what we're doing and what teen to teen is. So our first time going, we did Be Involved, and that was an activity fair. So we just had them walk around, and everything that you could be involved in New Hampton, we had some student from high school there. Number 2 is Trying is Cool, just talking to them about how trying is going to get you far in life and slacking off probably won't, and that it's going to be better for National Honor Society. Number 3 is Friendships. That was mainly for the girls because girls let all the friendships, like they change a lot in high school. But for the guys, it was about peer pressuring and being respectful. Number 4 is B, how you have to be positive, flexible, organized, all that in high school, and it helps you get through. And then number 5 is the big picture. That's telling them that high school is going to fly by, but when you're a freshman, you think it's going to take forever. And then what I learned from Teen to Teen is that I was building better relationships with the 8th graders, but it's also better for the juniors who are going to be seniors, because when you're a freshman, you're always scared of the seniors, so those freshmen are going to have a lot better relationship with those seniors.
So another one that I'm going to talk about is school and community liaison. So our problem was that we felt the community and the school weren't connected very well. And when talking to some community members, they felt that they only interacted with students when students wanted money for something. And we didn't like that idea at all. So we're trying to figure out a way to get rid of that idea. So some things that we have done, I have actually attended chamber meetings in Charles City, and Brianna has attended them in New Hampton. And those are once a month. You go, and I enjoy it because you get to listen I learn more about my community, what's going on, what are they working on, how can we help. And at the chamber meetings is when I figured out that I want to come back to Charles City because it's not a bad place after all. I kind of like it there. Kind of sad to leave, actually. But another thing that we did was the Comic Connection, because our community members never knew when school events were taking place unless they had a grandchild or something. And we'd love to have them come to our sporting events or drama, choir, anything like that. So like I said before, benefits. I have made a lot of new relationships with just business members, people throughout the community that I probably would have never come in contact with if it wasn't for this. And again, I realized that I want to come back to Charles City.
So the connections that we've made throughout Iowa Big North is obviously the business partners. Like Madison was saying, she's built better relationships with the business partners, and so have I with New Hampton, and that's a reason why I'm going to go back after college. I've gotten to know the community a lot better. New Hampton's pretty small, but I did not know the main street at all before Iowa Big North. We're crossing district lines. Like Madison's from Charles City, I'm from New Hampton, and from that, like, we were rivals because we're in conference together, so I never really liked Charles City. But I can say that I have built a better relationship. She's my best friend now. And then we've also increased networking. We are getting to know businesses like from Osage and Charles City, and not just staying, I'm not just staying in New Hampton, I'm learning about the ones in the other communities.
So this is just a slideshow of just a bunch of pictures of some of our community members. We obviously can't fit them all on 1 or 2 slides, and we wouldn't be able to do anything that we do without them. So I can't stress how thankful we are for them. And Josh is going to talk a little bit.
Yeah, so the deck stacked a little bit because I was on the governor's STEM advisory council back in the day, and so when I took this job as general manager at OMU, it was a no-brainer for me to reach out to our community school district and say, what can I do with my business here in the community to partner with you guys? And so I had a space upstairs within our utility that was not being utilized, and so I reached out to our superintendent. She goes, we're going to do this Iowa Big North program, and so lo and behold, we were the host of Iowa Big North. It's been awesome. I was an educator for almost 20 years before I went to the utilities, and so for me, it gets my education fix. I go upstairs, I see what they're doing. They use my boardroom, they come downstairs, they have board meetings on Mondays. I sit in on those sometimes as kind of just a fly on the wall, and maybe add a couple little tidbits once in a while, but it's been really good to see this whole project. I've seen so much growth out of these students, and so I'll go up there. I saw students that couldn't present to a group of people, and they started, and now they can talk. They can get in front of people, give presentations. They're addressing community issues, and I think for rural Iowa, we have to do projects like this. I think, I was part of a community college in industrial technology, and it's always like, how do you create partnerships with business and industry and education? And I think this program does that. It creates a great way. One of the things that was talked about earlier is sometimes we have too many groups that are always going after business and industry, and you flood it, and they don't know who to partner with. They don't know where to go. They're constantly bombarded with, well, we want to get you skilled workers, but How do we do it? Well, I think this creates a good avenue for making that happen. I've retained one of these students at our utility this summer. He is now working for us. He's redoing our website. He's an IT genius. He doesn't even want to go to college. His mom's superintendent of the schools. That's a little bit of an issue. But he's phenomenal. He can code, he can write apps, he can do all those different things. And so we retained him for this summer, and he's redoing our website. We hooked him up with a company in Ankeny, which he is doing their website for him, and in turn, they've given him 5% ownership of the company. As a junior in high school, he owns 5% of a company because he's managing their website. So it's a lot about networking and connecting these students. You know, I look back to my days. I had 3 study halls when I was a senior in high school, and I wasted all 3 of those study halls. Like, I would have been so much better off in a program like this. And the cool part about this, we have kids in there that are valedictorians of their school, and we've got kids that have got a 2.0 GPA. I mean, it's all kinds. It's very, you know, very, I don't know, hands-on approach. It's awesome to see them interacting with the public, the community. We had one group that took on a task of trying to get more foot traffic in our downtown businesses, and they came up with, like, they kind of copied Ray Gun and came up with these crazy t-shirts and stuff that are only sold at downtown businesses, and then they rotate it between the businesses. Like, that's a great thing. You know, we want them to get engaged in the community, and I'm not going to lie, it was difficult at first. I had people that were in my office area that are like, well, we can't have high school kids upstairs, you know, we can't, they're going to be running wild and crazy, and all these different things are going to happen, and the sky didn't fall. It went well, and now they get it and they understand, and I think these guys are right. Everybody in North Iowa now, I think, is understanding what Iowa Big North is. It also helps when your governor in the acceptance speech to become governor mentions Iowa Big North, so thank you for doing that. So we've gotten some good PR out of that, but it's been awesome. As a former educator, I spent 6 years in the legislature, on the Governor's STEM Advisory Council. This is a model that needs to be replicated across the state of Iowa, and Cedar Rapids got it going, and we replicated it up in North Iowa, but it's a model that can be, and the best part about this is we actually have school districts that forgot about their mascots, they forgot about their school colors, and they're actually collaborating and working together. And that's what we got to do in rural Iowa. If we're going to grow our areas, we got to erase some of these different obstacles that we've created and start partnering and working together and sharing resources, and that's the best part that's happened out of this.
So a question that we're asked a lot is, what is the impact that we've had from Iowa Big North? For students, communication skills, I would not be able to stand up here at the beginning of the year to give you a presentation. I wouldn't even be giving it. But now it's a lot better. And then professionalism, I can walk into a business and I know how to act. I'm a very loud person, but when I'm like in places like this, I kind of try to keep down. For community, we're obviously building better relationships, like we've said how many times so far. We're learning about the economic development, and then like since Madison and I go to the chamber meetings, they like it because they're getting the student perspective and not just an adult perspective. And then our growth indicators is this list. There's a lot more, but these are the main ones. We've learned so much from Iowa Big North, and I don't know if I'd be ready to go to college without it. It's helped me so much with my positivity, my communication skills. I've become a very responsible little adult, I guess you'd say, but it's helped everybody out a lot.
So you're probably wondering what our goals for the next year and the years following. Obviously, we want more students. Charles City has 20 currently signed up for next year. New Hampton has 37, and Osage has 12. And along with more students, you need more staff because they can't do it all by themselves. And along with more students, they're going to have different passions. They're going to have different ideas. So you're going to have more initiatives, and you might see some of our initiatives go on the back burner because those students aren't passionate about it. But it's not gone forever. Somebody else could pick it up. And next year, they're actually adding a class offering for public speaking, which I wish would have been offered this year because that's all we've been doing is presenting and things like that. But so those are our goals. And then if you ever want to contact us, there's our contact information. go.
And now, as a bit of a contrast, I'm going to invite the Iowa Big North folks to take a seat and have our Davenport West Inspire program come up and talk a little bit about their program. And what you'll note is that none of these are exactly the same. Iowa Big North talked about that. The concepts of the model can be replicated in your community based on what is going to work best for you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Greg, if you would like to do introductions of your group and Davenport West Inspire program.
All right, good morning. My name is Greg Smith. I teach at Davenport West High School. I'm one of the Inspire instructors. I teach engineering and advanced manufacturing.
I'm Gabby Baker, and I graduated from West last year and got an internship at MA Ford, and now currently am working at MA Ford.
I'm Savannah Strunk, and I'm going to be a senior this upcoming year. I was a part of the Inspire program as a junior, and I'm going to be doing it again as a senior.
I'm Jennifer Boyd. I'm the Career Tech Ed Curriculum Specialist for Davenport Schools, so I help support the program.
I'm Mike Rashid, and I work at MA Ford Manufacturing. I'm the business partner with this group.
Okay, so first we're going to kind of tell you what our Inspire concept is. So what our goals are. So Inspire is essentially a career pathway program. We have 4 pathways in place right now, and we're building our health sciences. So we have advanced manufacturing, computer science, engineering, business, and then the health sciences that we're building on. Each one has a visual arts emphasis because we have a visual arts teacher that's very involved with us. And our goal was really to get students the exposure to different career opportunities while they're still in high school. If they find one that they really connect with, we're able to build some of their skills and abilities while they're in high school to kind of get them ahead of the game as they move on to their post-secondary options, or to get a feel if they don't want like the career pathway, get it early on so that they're not spending time in college following this career plan that really it doesn't work for them.
All right. Is this me?
Oh, wait, yeah, okay. So one of the things that we really took on was community service. We do a lot of it. We're encouraged to get 50 hours per year, which you can do it throughout the whole school year, just the 2 to 3 terms that you're in Inspire. And it's not just go out and get community service on your own. We actually have opportunities. We go as a team to do some of these opportunities. You don't have to go to every single one, but you're encouraged to participate, which is a really big deal. And another thing that I really took to was the dual credit, like for college. I have so many college credits from all of the Project Lead the Way classes and just being involved in things like this. I'm probably going to be about halfway to my associate's degree at Scott Community College, which is the one we partner with, by the time I graduate next year, which is a really big deal for a high school student. Not many people get those opportunities.
So like I said, I got the opportunity to be in an internship at MA Ford Manufacturing with Mike. Actually, through the school, a few of us were selected to go into an interview and see if we could help out MA Ford in any way to do things. And I was one of the ones who got selected to help out. And it's actually really different from the experience how Inspire has grown, because I didn't have to do community service and stuff, but it's actually turning into a really great program. And then what they didn't do this year but want to get back to, again, it was the end of the year showcases. We worked on projects in our engineering classes. I was in the engineering capstone. You find a problem in the world, create a solution to it, and at the very end, we presented our problems to a group, a whole auditorium, kind of like this, and just explained how we solved our problem, and that they kind of want to get back to that so you can see the growth of the program.
All right, so what is the Inspire program? Well, kind of modeled after Project Lead the Way, we use the Engineering Design and Development, which is our Capstone class. That is our engineering capstone pathway. Computer Integrated Manufacturing, which is SIM. That's our advanced manufacturing pathway. Computer science, we use some Project Lead the Way computer science classes there. That pathway is currently just really getting developed. And then our business classes are also a part of that. We're also going to add health sciences. They just started Project Lead the Way, health, biomedical. And so what we're doing is we're creating a small business. We use the structure from First Robotics Challenge or Competition, FRC, to have our problem. The students come together around it, and it's really, I think a lot of people are confused because robotics is, you build a robot, but it's more than just building a robot. Students are learning how to go out in the community. They're learning how to communicate. They're learning about business. They have to fundraise. They have to get buy-in. And so how do they do that? And so what we're doing is we're taking this capstone, and we're all coming together for a common goal to work across the different disciplines.
Okay. So we received the STEM Best Grant 2 years ago, and originally, if you want to go to the next slide, originally we used it to, we were going to really ramp up our advanced manufacturing pathway specifically, so we used it for some advanced equipment, the CNC machine that you can see in the pictures there, and while we were getting the CNC machine set up and we started working with our partners, we realized the idea for the collaborative capstone really kind of emerged, and a way to use the CNC machine in an applied way to help support, building the specialized parts for the robots. And that's kind of how it went along. And as our capstone emerged and the business partners saw the value in what we were doing, how we were doing the integrated small business, essentially, our partner engagement actually increased, and we've had a lot more support from the community.
One of the things we looked at was the chamber, and the Quad Cities is really a hub for manufacturing, and a lot of jobs are associated with manufacturing. And one of the jobs, is being a CNC operator. So things like companies like John Deere, M.A. Ford are some of those prime examples in our area.
Okay, so we'll get into some of the program details at this point. So our capstone is kind of where we're, this is our second year of having this implemented. So the capstone, this was the first year the capstone officially ran. So right now in the Inspire program, we have 119 students currently accepted or applied. And the application process is a digital process. They do an online application. Their parents have to do a recommendation form. And on the student form, they have to give a little summary of why they want to be a part of the program and what their career goals are. And then the parents have to give a paragraph about how they're going to support their student throughout the program. And then they also have to have a teacher or counselor recommendation. Our recruitment for this right now has been kind of working with the students that take our introductory courses at the high school. We've gone down to some 8th grade conferences or parent nights to kind of start sharing that way. And our team heads down to the elementaries on a regular basis with their robot, and they have the robot, throw things at the kids and different things like that to get them excited. And then they kind of talk about the program, so the students are becoming aware of it at a pretty early age. In our capstone this last year, we had 38 students, and Davenport schools were a very, very diverse community, and we had great representation. We had 10 of the students were female, 28 were male, 17 came from low-income households. So we had a lot of diversity within that.
Okay, and then this is what happened this year. So what we did is we used the business and all of those pathways, and we just put them together, and we actually competed in a competition, and we won the Rookie All-Star Award, which by winning that you get to go to Worlds, and that's the picture at Worlds. And out of that, we won the Rookie All-Star Award again, which is only 3 teams win that award. And we were one of those 3 teams, very lucky to have that opportunity. And then here's our classrooms. Okay, so the bottom right is an engineering room. The left is the engineering room as well, more manufacturing. And then the top right is our actual metals lab, whatever. And so this really helps us to collaborate. As you can see, the classroom in the bottom right, it's kind of like a circular desk. We have 4 of those. So anyone who's working on a certain part of the project, you can meet at different tables, and you all have computers to work on, and you can collaborate and just talk with each other and really get your ideas out there, and people can listen to you. And this is just a really big deal. Like, to be able to communicate with each other and not just kind of sit around and look at each other like, oh, what's going to happen next? So we really get our ideas out there, and everybody is important in this process. And there's our Haas CNC machine that we bought with the grant, and I actually got the opportunity to run it this year and make my own like little cube thing, and it was so much fun. Like, I'm not joking. This was not something I ever thought I would do or even like to do, but Mr. Smith was like, okay, you guys are gonna run it, and I was like, I don't know, like maybe. And he's like, okay, get in there, like do this, try it. And then I loved it. By the end of it, I was like, yeah, I don't need your help. Like, I can do this myself. And it was really great opportunity. I'm glad we have that machine and I could experience something like that.
So now we're going to talk about community support and our secret ingredient.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so I'm going to read this quote from actually Kim Reynolds, who was just in here. The STEM-Best satellite model will allow students to experience the industry or business environment firsthand. The experience is vital to prepare students for STEM success in college or career training after high school, and it all allows businesses and industries to introduce students to outstanding career opportunities. And this is kind of like our secret ingredient that pulls all of these experiences together.
So obviously we have community partners like John Deere and MA Ford. Those are to name a couple of them, but we've got education, industry, and then obviously our STEM Best cohort that works together with those community partners. And really, how do we get our community partners involved? We have student internships, we have teacher externships, they offer factory tours, they have mentors, they sponsor us. MA Ford specifically gives us tooling for our CNC machine, and then we have classroom speakers. My role kind of started about 4 years ago when I was a extern at John Deere Davenport Works, and through that process, I went into MA Ford that following year, and they said, hey, we want to have some teachers come work for us, and so then I introduced this externship model, and they jumped on board, and so I've actually been there now for 3 years, working on various different projects. And so as a teacher, I think you need to grow, you need to get out of your comfort zone, and I think that has allowed me to do that, to experience things that I wouldn't normally experience, to be but be up in front of you and talking today. I mean, that's not, I do it in the classroom every day, but not to a group of people I don't know. But I think part of that, it started with the externship, and then has grown from there. One of the things we did is we partnered with the Gene Haas Foundation. We wrote a grant, hoping to get some sponsorship for our robotics team. They gave us $10,000, and we offered our first 4 scholarships to students just like 2 weeks ago. And so we have 4 students, 3 males and 1 female. They're going to pursue engineering. 1 student is going to pursue his machining certificate, and has actually just got a job at MA Ford, and he's out on the line working. Yeah.
And so I get the rest of the time, don't I?
Sure.
We have to also talk about our friends at Matt and Josh. We talked about the sweet green ribbon you guys got that we didn't get. What's up with that? And Charles City knew Hampton and Osage is a great place. The great bicycle ride across Iowa goes through there, so that's a lot of fun up there. But I'm glad to be here, and I could talk on this stuff all day because I am passionate about it. We talked earlier about how we want to find the students' passion and introduce that earlier, middle school and elementary, to figure out, it takes a long time to get through where you're going to go. And it's a lot of fun. And not only do I get to see it now in the high school, we have people, this spills over into the rest of your workforce, and they see it. And I have engineers and technicians working for me, and people that have come from entry-level manufacturing, and they get to see this, and they didn't know what their passion was then. And there's a young lady working for me now who's gone through a 2-year apprenticeship, and now she's finishing a 4-year. And you know, it's fun. When Savannah was talking about getting to use these machines and these technologies, it is a lot of fun, and it can be entry level and 2-year and 4-year and advanced degrees and all these things. All of them we need. And you know, there was a time when we said get a 4-year degree and get a good job, and we left out, you know, manufacturing is dirty. Well, it's not dirty anymore, most of it. You know, what we have done since I've been there is just amazing, and there's so many things that we could talk about. But the partnership, it's important to find passionate teachers, and that's a huge thing. Greg and Jason, they are doing fantastic jobs in our area, and I can see other schools in our areas that unfortunately don't have that. So there's opportunities out there for people that really love this to make a huge difference, and I appreciate it. I think it was it Nick upstairs in the panel said we in industry are saying we've got this skills shortage. We need good people. We need, you know, people that are, you know, able to do the work. Well, how can we partner? I'm too busy. I'm never ready, you know, but when I saw the opportunity, you know, I'm not prepared, but you plunge in anyway and just keep moving ahead with it. It's going to improve. I wish I were doing a better job at it, but we are making progress. It's been a benefit for us. I hope that the kids and the teachers are all getting something good out of it, because it's some really good things. We're doing some good work. I was pleased to hear the CEO from Siemens say, you know, you guys aren't just doing good work here, you're doing the best work. So we should be proud of that. That's good.
Oh, they want me to talk. Okay. Basically, I explained to you the process of how I got into the internship, but I didn't really explain to you what it did for me. So now I kind of want to explain like what a change in my life it's brought. I love my job. I love my boss, and I'm not just saying that because he's sitting there. It's really the best experience I could have ever asked for, and I'm so grateful for it. And I would have never gotten this experience without teachers who actually put forth effort and care about their students. I mean, at the end of the showcase presentation that I talked to you about, I cried about Mr. Smith on accident. He wasn't even there, so. But now I get to get a little taste of everything. When I first started at MA Ford, I was starting in moving some machines around and making things a little bit more efficient and moving certain machines closer together to make more room. And now I have worked on several different projects, and I've even got to work on the floor and learn how to use some machines. I've met tons of people on the floor in the engineering rooms, HR people. You make a lot of connections that you would have never ever had in a million years without this. I graduated from West High School with an internship. Who can say? Not very many people can say that. So then when I went into college, people are like, how did you do that? How did you do that? I don't know, my high school helped me. I don't know how else to explain it. But it forces you to be an adult. It forces you to have to talk to people, explain yourself, go and be who you are and find what you like to do. And by doing that, you grow as a person, and it really helps you in, well, for me in college, it's helped me because I don't have any problem talking, I promise. But it helps you talk more professionally and grow those kind of connections that'll help you throughout your life. Like, if I would never have met Mike on the street. He's too busy for that. You just would never have these connections without how the district, and especially West High School, has given the opportunities to these students, and the fact that they're growing it even more since I have even left, the fact that you guys have gotten even more opportunities that I have gotten, it makes me really happy to see that not only did I get these opportunities, but you guys are even getting more opportunities as it goes on. So I'm really proud of what the school has become and the program has become.
So Gabby, what are you doing now? Where are you going to school? What are you studying?
Do I have to say that?
Yeah.
I actually go to Western Illinois University, which is in Moline, Illinois, which is right across the river from Davenport. And I'm going for engineering, and it's a general engineering degree, and then I haven't decided my emphasis, but later on you decide an emphasis, like a path, mechanical or whatever. I just finished my first year. It's not fun. I'd much rather work with Mike. Mike explains a lot better than some of the teachers. But I've made a lot of friends, and I've been able to, actually next year I'll be president of the Academic Club of Engineering, and I'll be a learning assistant for calc, entering freshmen, so teaching them calc, and that's the first year that they've been doing that. So I'll teach them math, and I'll actually be a peer mentor too, so I'll help incoming freshmen transition into college life, which is kind of intimidating. I didn't think it was, and it turned out to be a very intimidating experience, so I would love to be able to help people transition into that.
All right. Now we're going to talk about our next steps and where we're headed.
Okay, so we always have goals. We're always growing and developing and trying to improve. So of course, there's a lot of things we want to increase. First is enrollment. We want more students. We'd like, I think our goal is eventually 10% to 15 or 20% of West High School to be part of our Inspire program. Our project options, this year, as our first year doing the Capstone, we did the FRC. That was the only project that happened in the Capstone course. But we want to expand that where that's one of the options, and then there's multiple others to follow students' passions. More internship placements. You can see the couple that we've had have been incredibly successful, so we want to give more students that opportunity. Increasing our partners, getting more people in the classroom and more of our students out into the community, and more scholarships for students. And then more professional development, so getting our Inspire teachers extended training on their different equipment or ways to implement the programs, and also others within the school. The Inspire program right now is kind of just within the Inspire program and those teachers, so we want to expand that a little bit, get some more teachers involved, and share the good news about what's happening. And then of course awareness within our community, within the state, and around, just so that more people know it's happening. I was speaking with somebody from our AEA, and he said, oh, I didn't even know that was happening at West High School. And so we need to get the word out so people know that it's actually going on. I think that that's all that we have for you guys. So there's all of our contact info. Gabby said she would check her email if you would like to email her. But you can take any of that, send us questions, or contact any of us.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, help me congratulate our Davenport West Inspire program. At this time, I'd like the folks from Iowa Big North to come back up also, because more than anything, we want to give you as an audience a chance to ask questions. I know that a lot of information has been covered, from what the numbers look like, how they've got things started in their particular programs. And again, this is just 2 of 18 models that are happening across the state of Iowa now. But let me turn it over to you as an audience and see if anyone has any questions at this time. And if you wouldn't mind stating your name and where you're from, and if you want to direct a question specifically to someone, that'd be great. Otherwise, we'll let you decide who wants to take it.
Yeah, actually, this goes to both Iowa Big and or Iowa Big North and Inspire. I'm Cheryl Valenta with Workplace Learning Connection, and I'm curious, do you all receive funding then? Everybody that goes through your programs, your students, do they all receive some type of funding, and where do you find that fund? Where do you get that funding? Is it through grants mostly, or businesses, or I would love to hear a little bit about that.
I'm sorry, we only have one microphone, so I'll run it back up. Who would like to take it?
They don't receive specific funding for the program. We're grant funded for the equipment, and then when they went to the World Championship and the regionals, the kids actually all did their own fundraising for all of those. And the group went to Kenya last summer, and you raised how much? In $30,000 in almost a year. In a year, the kids did it and raised all the money for that. So they're pros at that, and the teachers get a lot of the credit for that. But otherwise, there's district money. We have Carl Perkins grant to buy equipment and support the programs in that way, but otherwise, no additional funding.
And let me explain just really quickly with the Iowa STEM Council, what we've done the last 3 years is to provide up to $25,000 of award resources, financial resources, to either do planning of these programs or to move it to another level.
We did not, we have some local grants that we've applied for, and we did receive some help with startup with our STEM Innovator by our participation in the STEM Innovator program, just for things what am I looking for here? Stuff in the space, right? So furniture and whiteboards and things like that, but no, nothing for students, no.
Hi, I'm Staff Sergeant Elizabeth Rodas with the Iowa Air National Guard in Des Moines. I have a question for Big Iowa North. So I'm actually from Northeast Iowa. I graduated from MFL Marmac. And I'm curious, so you guys are expanding within your schools, Osage, Charles City, New Hampton, and you're wanting bigger classes. How are you working on expanding it to other cities in Northeast Iowa?
So we have an open door policy as of right now, I guess. We were shown a lot of hospitality by the Iowa Big program in Cedar Rapids, and they really showed us the way. We got involved quickly there with the money from our STEM Best grant. We were able to pay for some professional development there. That was helpful. As far as growing our model or our program, there have been some conversations about potentially other schools around us joining up with us, but we're still at a phase right now where we're ready to grow and willing to talk and hear how that might work. But there's a lot of logistics and things to get figured out, resource allocation, to make sure that that's a win-win for everybody.
I think the beauty of these models is that those conversations are starting to happen. So we're excited about that. So Pradeep, did you have a question?
Pradeep Kotamaraju, Department of Education. Just wanted to ask Inspire, how do you give the credits? You know, if you're having this project-based learning, how do you award the credits for the high school students?
Our pathways are all elective, so it's an elective credit. So we actually developed a course called Inspire Capstone, and we've identified the learning standards within it, but it is all elective credit. There's no core credit. It's not required. There's no graduation requirement that's embedded with it at all.
But with that said, you do get the dual credit to Scott, so you do get elective, general elective credits. I got to test out of not test out, just because I took one of the Project Lead the Way classes, I didn't have to take one of the classes that I would have to take my first year of college. I didn't have to take that because I took one at West for dual credit. So it does benefit you later, like down the road too.
And then we didn't really offer it this year, the STEM Innovator credit, but we plan on offering that for the business side and the engineering side. And so we have about 6 or 7 teachers that are certified to offer those credits.
Any other questions? A couple back here.
Hi, Gina Giesing with Northeast Iowa Career Learning Link, which is part of the Iowa Intermediary Network. My question is for Mike. What do you say to employers who are hesitant to have high school students in their businesses for internship experiences?
Mike, do you mind just jumping up to the podium there? Thanks.
I say tough it out with the HR people. Just push ahead, because they're going to say you can't do this, you can't do that, and you can't do something else. And you can, you know, they'll say our insurance won't do this or the state won't do that, and it's a bunch of nonsense. You can get through it. So I don't know all of it, but I just keep pushing and say we can do this. And eventually we got it. We actually had everything okay, and they were going to shut it down. And it's like, no, we've worked with the school and we have this moving on. I've made presentations, Greg did, and I went with to the school board, and we finally got that all done, and then they tell me I can't. Well, we did, we are, and since then, not only do we have people like Gabby and David who works with me, for me, we have numerous kids that have been working part-time while they're in high school. Now they're summer. We have, I don't even know how many now, maybe 8, 10, 12 kids that have been working part-time and are now working full-time, because some of them are in a quandary. They don't know what they want to do, but we like them. We've offered a job. They enjoy what they're doing, and it's a good thing. Just persevere, push through that nonsense.
This could be a question for either one of the programs. Stacey Asher, Cedar Valley West. I'm a part of the intermediary network, but I'm also very similar to Iowa Big North. I represent 4 school districts west of the Cedar Valley area, Cedar Falls area, as a work-based learning coordinator. Looking into, is your entire school day then spent out at Big North, or is it just one class period? How does the schedule kind of work that way? And then as the instructor, or as one of the instructors, are you also at one of the high schools teaching 7 or 6 periods of the day? How is that all kind of put together?
So I'll talk about the students. I'd say my first semester for Iowa Big North, I was there for 2 periods, and we did it in the afternoon, just because usually the morning is like the main classes, and then afternoon is a lot of the study halls. So then my second semester, I wanted more time at Iowa Big, so I actually ended up dropping some classes that I knew weren't going to help me in the future, because Iowa Big North was helping me so much more. So I actually would leave after lunch every day, and I would go to Iowa Big for 3 periods, and 3 periods was never enough for me. But I know for, what? Sorry, it's Mr. Kennan back there. He would teach in the morning, and then he was always out at the big space from 5th period on, because we did have some students out there from like the 5th period, and then they'd have to go back to school, which that was always the hard part, is when students were there like for 6th period, but they had to go back 7th period, and then they'd come back 8th period. But Mr. Finn, do you have?
Yeah, and so for the student side too, I think we got a little smarter as we helped people sign up for classes for the second year, and really recommended that 2 periods at a minimum. Not that we would turn anybody away still, but that was highly recommended. Outside of, so yeah, I teach 4 periods, have a planning period, and then have 3 periods of Iowa Big North in the afternoon, and that's the same for my colleagues in the back there too. And then we meet, now it's going to be every Wednesday. For me, I'm going to be able to go a full day every other Wednesday for our Scrum meeting time, where we can assess students. That's one of the interesting logistical issues that comes up, is New Hampton's 40 miles away from Osage. And so we can do some Zoom meetings and do some internet meetups, but it's good to get together and talk about student growth, and then make other plans for where initiatives are going to.
And I apologize, we're running out of time, but if anyone else has any other questions, you can send them to info@iowastem.gov, and we'd be happy to send them on or answer them. Just really quickly before you leave, very important information. We're very excited to announce that if you go to our website, we have a request for proposals open right now. It's on the front page, you cannot miss it. And through September 15, communities, clusters of communities like Iowa Big North has done, however it wants to be arranged, have the opportunity to apply for up to a $25,000 award. So I would highly encourage you to take a look at that. Talk to partners, because that's what makes these programs work. Talk to partners in your community, see if it's something that works for you, and take advantage of the RFP application. So thank you very much for coming.